if it works. Great. Okay, here we go. Let's get your props. So I'm going to start with a couple of bricks here, but you might just have a rolled up blanket or a pillow to put underneath your bottom. I'm going to put these just beside each other and have your other bits and pieces close by. Make sure you've got a blanket you can just put over you for the end. And come and sit comfortably. Now, this isn't comfortable for you. If you prefer to straddle a bolster or even sit high or even on the edge of a chair, then that's absolutely fine. Just sit comfortably. I'm going to get you to massage around wherever you're sitting so that you create a really lovely stable base. So lengthening out of your waist as you settle your sitting bones down into your props, lengthening here, drop the base of the rib cage a little bit, and then just give your shoulders a little roll behind you like so. Massage those shoulders. That's it. And then drop your head and just let your head float around in a massaging circle. You might need to take your shoulders around as well. Imagine you are unwinding the tension from the previous week and the weekend and starting your week with a fresh slate. So unwinding, releasing, and starting to go into that slow, extended Ujjayi breath. Good. So just coming back into your center, I'm going to get you to wriggle your jaw from side to side like that. And then as you're doing that, just pat down your arms inside and outside, just to get a little bit of circulation going around the body. Patting up and down, inside and outside, over to the shoulders. I'm just going to let in Laura here. Keep going with that. Hello, hello. So we're just sitting, patting, making sure that you've got a nice bit of height underneath your bottom. Nice loose fists, just patting across your chest and into those shoulders. That's the way. And then down into your buttocks and just a little bit around your legs. So you just kind of wake up the body, get a little bit of that prana, that life force mobilizing around. And then little fingers like raindrops patting on your head, right at the crown of your head, down the back, and then above your ears and near your temples, and then down onto that jaw. Right by your ears and then right down, and then give your jaw a wriggle, like that. And then back up again onto the top of your head, like little light raindrops. Then dropping your hands, and with a nice broad chest and the shoulders dropping down your back, just closing your eyes for a moment and feel back into the crown of the head where your fingertips have just been pulsing there. And imagine this area has got little sparkles of light as you really tune into the sensations on your skin surface of your fingers that have been like raindrops. And feeling a warmth at this point at the crown of your head. And as you start to slow and stretch your breath, just imagine that tapping sensation, like a very powerful shower pouring down the crown of your head, is creating a sense of relaxation and release that flows down, massaging around your eyes, flows down inside the skull so that it almost feels as if the skull bones are softening away from each other. Flows down through the cheeks, around the mouth, and especially around that lower jaw. And then flows down through the neck, the front and the back, through the front of the chest, through the upper back. Flows down through your arms, forearms, pulling into your hands, and flowing down through the torso, visualizing these sparkles of light, almost as if sunshine is sparkling on the water, pouring that breath down, drawing your awareness down around the pelvis, and then down through your legs, and down into your feet, Become very aware of your feet, the pressure of your feet on the ground. Feeling into your sitting bones on the ground and just feeling that wonderful sense that you've washed your body clean with your awareness. You allow your mind now to settle into your body. And just taking your mind underneath the skin surface. And as you breathe, imagine the whole of your body, sparkles of light, just that tapping to stimulate the blood flow through the skin. Feeling just underneath the skin surface of the whole of your body. And then start to increase your breath. So it almost feels as if your body is pulsing. It's becoming lighter, a bit more open. Deep, full breath in, drawing the breath down and out underneath your armpits and then up. And a full more breath. And on your next inhalation, just slowly open your eyes. Take your arms out to the side. Slowly float them all the way up. And then exhale and just go down. Turn the palms, stretch your fingertips out, and then make this a bit more of a deep breath in and then out. And then this time, take the arms right up, stretch your spine, hold the top of the breath, and then just go Very good. Roll those shoulders. A lateral stretch now, a lazy lateral stretch for Monday night. Dropping your hip down towards the ground, mobilizing the head, draw the shoulder away from the ears, draw the elbow back, and breathe into those intercostal muscles between the ribs. So you feel like you're really flaring those ribs out away from each other. And as you exhale, tummy button to spine, come up and over to the other side. Very fluid, shoulder away from ear, opening the chest, drawing the elbows slightly back. So we create this lovely stretch right from the pelvis, right up here, underneath the armpit, into the fingertips. Beautiful. Coming back up again, Sukhasana twist, easy twist. Just lifting through the crown, drawing yourself around, squeezing through those shoulder blades. And then up and over to the other side, squeezing those shoulder blades. Good. Coming back into the center. Fingertips on your shoulders. First of all, starting with big circles going backwards with your elbows. Going backwards, mobilizing those shoulder joints. Releasing tension that might have accumulated. So we'll just mobilize the upper body first. That's it. Now pull those elbows back, squeeze your shoulder blades together, squeeze and squeeze and squeeze. And then as you exhale, pull those elbows together, drop your head and round your upper back. So inhale, draw the elbows back, lift your heart center for a moment. Exhale, round. Good, and you might find that your pelvis rocks and rolls on your surface so that you feel like you're lifting your tail and you're tucking your tail and you're lifting and breathing in and tucking as you breathe out. So really mobilizing the whole of your spine now. Beautiful. And next time you come back into neutral spine, but stretch your fingertips out. So palms forward, thumbs up, little fingers down. Pull out through those middle fingers. Draw the shoulders slightly back together. And then just do some little circles like this. We want to drop the base of the shoulder blades so they're pulling down like that. So we're not up here with our shoulders, we're right down. Little circles to just strengthen that area between your shoulder blades, the rhomboids. So keep going with that. This little pulse outwards like so. Beautiful. Now taking your left arm across the body, keep the arm straight, but drop the shoulder, lock it into place with the other arm. Now pull back with the crossing arm, pull out with the extended arm, and then take your head gently across towards your fingers and get that stretch that goes right up through the outside of your shoulder, right up into the neck. And I want you to breathe and visualize those little sparkles of light stretching out the muscle fibers here. Breathe in deeply. Sigh the breath out. And again, deep breath in. And sigh out. Very good. Now open the arms again. Drop the shoulders down your back. Stretch out through the middle fingers. Stretch these pectoral muscles. And then slowly taking that right arm across the body, lock it into place with the left arm. Keep those shoulders dropping right down so they're not up here, right down. Pushing out, pulling in, stretching the outside of the shoulder here. Be gentle. And then gently take the head across so we get right into that area here, the scalings. And you might need to move your head a little bit until you find that sweet spot. And then breathe deeply and visualize the breath massaging, opening these muscle fibers. Exhaling. As you exhale, let the breath come out of your mouth and unwind your jaw. Good. Now taking the arm back up right on top. So lifting through the fingers, drop the arm behind you and then drop the shoulder down and then just kind of draw your elbow back a little bit more. So we stretch all the way down into the armpit here. Keep pushing your head slightly back. And you might want to take the other arm if this works for you, turning thumb down, rolling the arm behind you, grabbing hold of your t-shirt or maybe even your fingertips touch to see what happens there. Wherever you are, draw the elbows slightly back and then drop the shoulders. Draw the elbows slightly back and drop the shoulders. Also see if you can drop the base of your rib cage so you're not flaring your ribs, getting a big arch in your back. Instead, the bottom of your ribs are kind of sucking back in towards your spine. Deep breath in, sighing breath out. Good, and then just taking the arms out like Shiva. See if you can do that on the other side. Drawing your fingertips up your t-shirt and then drawing the elbows back and shoulders down. Elbows back, shoulders down. Drop the base of the rib cage. Deep breath in. Sighing breath out. Very good. Unwinding again. Just give those arms a little shake and then take your feet out in front of you. And I'm going to get you just to drop your knees from side to side, like so. So we can start to mobilize into the hip joints. That rotation through the hip joints like that. Beautiful. Now come and sit with your legs out. I'm just not sure if I'm going to stay on these bricks. It might be a bit high for me. Okay, so if you need to take your bricks out of the way, do. Get your ankles rolling around. We want to get lots of lubrication into our joints tonight. Maybe do that with your hands as well. And then other direction. Get you to pat your head at the same time. And then pull your toes back. And then squeeze your toes with all of your might. And then pull your toes back and then squeeze them. Good. So I'm going to get you to do a little rock with your feet as if you are washing the windows, window wiping. But the action comes from here in the hip joints rather than your feet. It's here. So you can visualize the femurs going into your pelvis and you're rolling on the ball and socket joint there, rolling from one side to the other. And then both toes in, so you're rolling inwards and then pulling the femurs outwards and then inwards, outwards, inwards. Good. Keep your torso nice and tall and just do a little stirring action with your torso into the pelvic bowl. You can use your hands as well if you like to imagine you are stirring a wonderful big pot of something delicious. One direction and then the other. So we're really mobilizing now deep into those hips, getting a nice bit of blood flow through the area. Good. Now take your feet over to one side. So you're zigzagging. I'm going to take my bricks out of the way now. So just that feels more comfortable for me. But you work with what feels good for you. We're just going to do a bit more mobilization through the hip joint. So you want to squeeze that right buttock, squeeze it, let the hip roll forward, release it. Squeeze and roll forward, release. Squeeze and roll forward, release. And again, squeeze and roll forward. Now press right down through the knee. So we stretch right up here into the groin area and just give yourself a little twist over the left shoulder. So it's like a corkscrew. Your body is twisting upwards and lift up through the crown of the head. Take your feet out. Do that little window wiping drop with your knees. Mobilizing those hips again, and then let those knees shuffle over to one side, feet over to the other side here. And again, squeeze the buttock, roll the hip forward, release it. So we're really getting that movement into the hip joint, into the big rotator muscles around the pelvis here, right into the glutes. This area, it's so important that we keep it nice and mobile so our hips don't get all stiff. So keep that movement forward. Now press down through the knee and then just give yourself a little twist from the pelvis, winding up through the crown of the head. Beautiful. And then allow yourself just to slide over onto your knees. So you're coming onto all fours. We'll use our bricks in a moment actually, so I'm going to leave them there. Now open your hands out and then paw at the ground and see if you can revolve your hands so that your wrists get a good stretch right through the backside. If you've been doing a lot of computer work, this can be a really nice thing to do, just to release building up tension in those wrists and get really quite achy. So pouring at the ground like so, and then either on your fists or wide hands, placing your hands directly underneath your shoulders and start to mobilize the pelvis. So initially lifting the tail and then just tucking the tail. So you breathe in as you lift and you breathe out as you tuck. And then see if you can get a little shimmy going on with your pelvis as you allow the ripple of movement to come right up your spine. Maybe close the eyes. If you've got some music playing in the background, do a shimmy to your music. Breathing in and breathing out. Beautiful movement through the spine. And then take your tail and roll it around behind you. Imagine you've got a wonderful big tail and you're showing it off. And you're doing a big swirl with your tail. Swirling it around and around. Other direction. Other direction. Good. Big swirls. Now, let your shoulders and your elbows be a bit swirly as well. Nice massage into those shoulders. Very good. Now, take your knees together like so, and then just drop your hips to one side. So we're going to get that stretch right down into that IT band, a little bit into the glutes. Try to keep your arms relatively straight so we do get a bit of pressure, a bit of weight-bearing pressure through the wrist, through that shoulder joint. Good. And then exhaling, tummy button to spine as you drop your hips to the other side. And it's the same thing. We want to keep those shoulders stacked on top of wrists. Really kind of enjoy that bit of pressure through the wrist here as we also get the stretch out through our hips. That's the way. Woo. Good. And then coming back onto your knees and then tuck your toes. So we're just going to stretch the vertebrae away from each other now. Tuck your toes. Try to keep yourself in good alignment here. Rather than going backwards too much, we're just focusing on pulling those vertebrae away from each other. So take the heels of your hands onto the top of your pelvis like so. Drop your knees down into the ground. If you need to put a blanket underneath your knees, please do so. So push your knees down. Now imagine you have a string from your pubic bone and from your chest, and those strings are very slowly being winched up towards the ceiling. So just allow the imagery of the strings drawing you upwards very slowly as you press your knees down. We want to stretch the front line of the body, kind of the opposite of sitting. Smooth breath, visualizing those muscle fibers as we stretch the fascial system underneath the skin surface. Smooth, sippy breaths. Good. And then draw the crown of the head up and just sink yourself down for a moment and pause where you're sitting in this lovely alignment where everything just kind of feels like it's stacked. And I want you to go back into that breath, that ujjayi breath, the long, smooth breath where it's dropping the breath down into the bottom of your lungs, stretching the breath out here underneath the armpits, and then you fill the lungs up to the clavicles. And as you exhale, the base of the ribcage comes in and the breath pours out of you. So when we're in this lovely alignment and we're breathing diaphragmatically, that's when we get that great vascular flow through the pelvic floor as well, and they work together like so. Just like that. So I'm going to get you to breathe in and imagine the pelvic floor is kind of stretching out as you breathe in. And then as you breathe out, see if you can kind of draw in and up through the pelvic floor muscles. So release them as you inhale. Feel a bit of a spreading out, maybe of your buttocks also on your heels. Exhale is a drawing in and up, almost as if the pelvic floor muscles are being hugged in and zipping upwards. So we're incorporating the urethra and the anus, drawing in and up towards the midline, like a tissue being picked up through the vagina upwards, and then releasing back down again. Exhaling, drawing in and up, and releasing back down. We'll just do that one more time. Exhaling, drawing in and up. Hold it, hold that lift, hold it for a bit more. And then slowly, 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 with control if you can, all the way down. Good, take the hands into the heart center, draw the elbows up. Now push your hands together and see if you can feel a wrapping sensation of your shoulder blades coming towards each other, activating the upper back muscles. And we're going to glide up. So as you inhale, squeeze your bum muscles, glide up and take your elbows nice and wide, stretching those pectorals, squeezing the upper back muscles. And then slowly flow back down again. Good, so we're drawing ourselves up on the inhale, exhaling, flowing down. Squeeze those glutes to glide up and releasing down. Now take the hands all the way up towards the ceiling, so you stretch the whole front end of the body again, and then slowly come down. Take the hands beside you as you come down. Breathing in, opening. Breathing out, releasing. Again, all the way up. Now this time, bend your elbows, take your arms behind you, stretch yourself out into extended child. And just pause here. So we stretch the spine, other way now. Shoulders roll away from your ears. So make sure there's a bit of extra pressure on your little fingers, but you're quite light on your thumbs. See if you can draw your sitting bones back. You might need to spread your knees a little bit more here. Lengthen all the way down into the lumbar spine, the lower back area, into the sacrum. Now inhale, come up onto hands and knees, tuck your toes. As you exhale, draw your tail back and up. Keep your knees bent initially, roll your shoulders away from your ears. Lift up through your tail a bit more, give your head a shake, and then slowly press one heel and then the other heel down towards the ground, just kind of feeling into how your calves and hamstrings are today. If that feels yucky on your shoulders, come down for a moment, readjust your shoulders, readjust them. Exhale, come back up again. Shoulders are rolling away from ears. You've got lots of space between shoulders and ears. So just making sure you're not here. Instead, you are rolling shoulders, lots of space between your ears and your shoulders. Good. Lifting those sitting bones, spreading those sitting bones. Now drop your knees down to the ground. Take your right foot forward and just kind of have a little dance around with your pelvis in this lunge position, just massaging around with the pelvis. So again, we're getting those femurs to rock around the cup of the pelvis, massaging around here. Maybe even taking your hands down onto the ground, or if you've got a chair close by or one of your bricks, you could always use that for some height. Massaging around here. Good. Now, kind of walk your fingertips back and bring your toes with you so we can get a bit more into those calves, a bit more into those hamstrings. Again, if you've got a brick close by, you could always use that to give you a bit of extra height. Now, notice what your tail wants to do. We want to lift our tails behind us, proud of our tails. Don't tuck your tail under. See if you can avoid that. And instead lift. You might not have your legs straight, it doesn't matter. See if you can lift your tail behind you. You're going to get more of a stretch through your hamstrings. And maybe rub the back of your legs. Give them a bit of warmth into those hamstrings. Good. And then bend the knee. And either placing the brick on the ground, if you need it all hand on the ground. Place your hand, your right hand down on the inside of your knee, open the chest, so you press your elbow back into your knee and stretch the inside of your thigh here. And maybe take the hand up towards the ceiling, shoulder away from ears, twisting again into that upper back, wringing out the tension from these hot spots, the hips, the shoulders. Let's take a big swish with that arm, a big swish, a big swish. Good. Just take the elbow back a little bit. Squeeze elbow back. Very good. Coming back into a proposal position, make sure your back foot's directly behind you. Walk your front toes forward, push your back toes into the ground. Just start to stretch a little bit into those femurs here, so into the quads and into your hip flexors. Maybe taking the arm up towards the ceiling, shoulders away from ears. Now push into the back foot as you take a deep breath in. Stretching ribcage away from pelvis. Softening. Take those hands on either side of the front foot. Step those knees together, tuck toes. Exhale, downward facing dog again. Now drop the knees across the midline of the body. Get a little bit into your hips. Shoulders roll away from ears. Spread your toes. Very good. Lifting tail, dropping down onto your knees for the other side. So taking your left foot forward. This time I'm going to swivel around it just so you can see me better. And again, just doing that kind of mobilizing dance. Those of you who've done yoga birthing with me will recognize this. So it's a wonderful way to release the muscles around the pelvis. Massage out lower back pain. Big circles. And then just draw yourself back. We want to keep those toes pulling back towards us. And just see if you can lift your tail. Keep the spine pretty straight if you can. And keep your corsatory muscles switching on. So a bit of a drawing in at the base of the rib cage here. That's going to help you protect your lower back. We want to avoid this, where lots of pressure is put on the lower back, and instead start to get really used to using our bum muscles and our hamstrings. Let's just rub the back of your legs, rub into those hamstrings, pull your toes back again. So you can pull the little toes back in particular, and then bend the knee, and you might use a brick to give you a bit of extra height. And press the elbow back into the knee as you turn yourself into an open twist. Stretching the inside of the thigh here, a bit of movement through the upper back. Maybe taking the arm up for extra stretch. Nice deep breath in. Keep pressing the elbow into the knee. Smooth breath. Now do some big circles. If that feels good, nice big circles. Whee! Then just taking that hand onto your hip and an extra twist. Press the knee away. Wonderful. Coming slowly back, coming into your proposal position. Make sure that back foot hasn't done any crazy stuff. Push it into the ground. Take your front toes forward. Pelvis drifts forward. Coming into your lunge. Shoulders away from ears. Breathing to stretch the front line of the body. Very good. Take the hands down. Get that brick out of the way for the moment. Tuck your back toes. Spring yourself forward, gracefully springing forward. Hands on top of your knees, on your thighs. Bend your knees. Now push the floor away as you lift your tail again and send the crown of your head forward. So coming into an upside down L shape, a tabletop shape. Keep drawing those shoulders away from the ears. Draw the chin back so you create a lovely flattened neck. So you're not dropping your head. Not lifting your head. Your head is looking straight down. Face is looking straight down. Now let's take the arms out to the side again. Thumbs up. Little circles backwards. Same kind of work into this upper back area. You're working your core here. So don't try not to do any crazy things with your spine. You're working your core. Bend the knees if you need to. Bend the knees. Good. And then as you fold yourself down, take your hands behind you, if you can, interlace them and draw the whole shoulder girdle up towards the ceiling. Once you're there, see how much you can lift your tail up towards the ceiling. Shoulders away from ears, whole shoulder girdle and hands lifting up towards the ceiling, pouring tension out of those shoulders. Bend the knees as much as you need to so we don't hurt the lower back. Very good. And then just let your arms flop. Give your head a floppy shake. And now we're going to push the floor away and slowly, slowly come up. So especially if you have low blood pressure, slowly, slowly, slowly. Coming all the way up. Now take your hands up towards the ceiling. We want to get that same wonderful stretch that we did in camel pose. Stretch upwards, push your feet into the ground this time, shoulders away from ears. Take a deep breath in, an invigorating breath in, and then bend your knees and just go down. And then push the floor away and roll back up again. You're inflating your body with fresh energy. And then releasing. And again, it's so nice to use these muscle fibers in a different way, in a dancey way. So come up again, this time turning your torso over that right knee, dropping down. And then let the left elbow pick you up. So you're very drapey with your movement, almost like a rag doll coming up over to the other side. You can imagine you're like a puppet on strings and you're just being pulled upwards. And over again, elbow lifting you, smooth, wave-like movement. And again, all the way up. Take the hands up and then down. Interlace the hands behind you again and lift the heart center as you take your hands behind you. Stretch those chest muscles. Good. And then take your feet apart, give your shoulders a roll like so, and then let your elbows start to roll. Our elbows get forgotten, so it's quite nice to just let your elbows be the stars of the show for a moment, and let your elbows lead the dance, and let them swirl up and down, and then the shoulders go, oh yes, I want to join in that dance, and the shoulders lift and roll, lift and roll. And then your hands get into the groove and your fingertips become a little bit more alive. And well, the hands are a bit showy, so the hands might take over the swish and the swish and the swish, and then push the floor away with your heels. So you feel as if you're pushing and bouncing from side to side, starting to get a bit of blood flow through the legs. The heels are pushing into the ground, heels pushing into the ground, toes pretty light. So keep the weight back, keep the weight back. Good, now come to a swish and a swish. Keep the knees bending pretty evenly and keep the torso a bit straighter here. Stretch those fingertips out for maximum swishiness and keep those shoulders dropping down your back. So here we are, giving the spine just a gentle twist, rinsing into the central nervous system. And then I love to do a little bit of a discus throw. So as you inhale, throw and stretch and lengthen the whole body, exhaling down. Slow stretch, lengthen, and big breath in, a dramatic breath in, and a down. And again. And then just give yourself a well done tap on the upper back, like so. Rolling yourself down again, hands above your knees, fingers in. Now give your tail another swish and a swish. So imagine you're swishing your tail from side to side and see if we can introduce again that little bit of lengthening in through the inner thigh like we did with those lunges. Swish and swish. So you kind of straighten-ish one leg and then the other. That's it, keep swishing. Now keep your tail swished. Now really straighten the leg as much as you can. Pull those toes back. Keep the other knee bent. Make sure this knee is not dropping in. So keep strong through your thigh here. And just rub again the inner thigh muscles, these adductors that run right up into your pelvic floor. And for a lot of women, these muscles are very, very tight and they influence the pelvic floor. So we want to stretch them out, give them a little bit of a release. And then swish your hips. Again, swishy swish. And then swish them to the other side and pull those toes back and rub the inside of your leg. Make sure this knee is not doing any kind of crazy stuff. We need it to be stable now. That's it. Nice big rubbing effect here, warming effect for those muscles. And then drop that hip back. And just kind of swish your hips from side to side as you come up, lifting, dropping, lifting, dropping, like so. And then forward with your pubic bone and back with your tail. Forward with your pubic bone and back with your tail. Tucking and lifting. And then side and forward and side and back. And side and forward and side and back. So it's a swish and a forward and a swish and a back and a swish, forward, swish, back. And then try and do that movement a little bit more fluidly. And then a little bit more fluidly still until you are stirring the pot. But a big, big stirring action this time. Let the knees get kind of into the action. Let them get a little bit juicy. Your weight is in your heels again. The weight is in the heels as you take your pelvis around and around and see if your hips can lift and drop as your bum goes right back behind you. Hips go out to the side. That's it. Now, let's see if we can go the other direction, but take the arms up. Drop the shoulders away from the ears. So just like you're doing downward dog with your arms. Lots of space between ears and shoulders. And we're massaging right into the waist. Deep core work happening here. Drop the shoulders away from your ears. Keep breathing. Take the arms out. Pull the little fingers back. That's it. Very good. And then roll the shoulders again. Come onto one leg. Come up onto your other toes. And we're going to do a little bit more of that window wiping in and out, but mobilizing through the hip joint here. Inwards, inwards, inwards. And then you might find that you naturally come into a little bit of an Elvis twist as well, which is always good for the waist. So we're mobilizing here, but we're also getting a little bit of work through that thoracic spine as well. And then come on to the other side, starting again. So we're looking for going inwards and inwards and inwards and inwards. We're going adducting, adducting, adducting. And then we might add a little bit of a twist, like so. Good. This is honestly all not just good fun, but very, very good for you. Fantastic. Let's give the body a shake. Now, I'm going to get you to take your bricks or your books or whatever you got. And if you don't have anything, don't worry, just use the ground. But I wanted us to really experience the pressure that we want to really engage the feet into the ground when we're doing any balancing. And this is a good way to do that. It's also a good way to strengthen. Now that we have mobilized, it's a way to strengthen the pelvic stabilizing muscles. So take your right foot, place it onto your bricks, and make sure your heel is on the brick. I'm going to come back so you can see me a bit better. Make sure your heel is on the bricks. It doesn't really matter about your toes. So the heel is what we're pushing down through. A good 80% of our weight is through the heel. Right, so to start off with, see if you can create even feet and even pelvis. Yeah, so straight across the pelvis here. Imagine you have a ruler straight across from one hip bone to the other. And then drop your left leg off the brick so the ruler is going on a diagonal line there. And then push your right leg down into your bricks so that your left hip lifts up like that. And then drop it down again. And then push the brick away so you come up. So it really feels as if you're trying to push your heel through the brick and into the ground. You might take your arms out to balance or like that. I'm going to see if I can keep demonstrating this hip tilt and down. So this should, after a few, start going, woo, can feel it right here on the side of the pelvis. Lifting and dropping, good, whee, and then down. Now soften the knee slightly, see if you can bring your knee into your chest and give yourself a bit of a squeeze there, keeping the torso nice and straight, corset tree muscles switching on. Good, and then just dropping down. So this leg has really been working hard. Fantastic also for weight bearing, starting to strengthen these joints. Okay, so swapping feet, make sure the heel is on your brick. Start with your even pelvis so that both feet are at the same height. And then drop one foot down. So you're lifting, you're hiking up the other hip. And then you push the heel into the ground as this other hip comes up. So it's very easy just to hike your hip up here, but that uses your obliques and uses your back muscles. What we're wanting to do is actually use these stabilizing muscles around the pelvis a lot harder to push the floor away with one leg, and that is what tilts the pelvis, pushing the floor away. That's it. Down and down and down. So I'm going to do about 10 of these if we can. Good, and then see if you can do a little balance. Shoulders away from ears, tummy button in and up. And then just dropping that. Good. And give your hips a massaging pulse around one direction and then the other. Take yourself against your wall. Take your feet so they're just about a foot, we're hip width apart, so about a foot apart. Spread your toes and then keep your knees a little bit soft. We're pushing down and out with our feet and we're pushing our bottom back into the wall. So just make sure you've got a contact with your wall, with your bum. Now, press the back of your body into the wall. So your shoulders, or the whole of your shoulder girdle, right from your rib cage back into the wall here. And try not to let your pelvis pop out. So keep your bum pushing back and keep the area between your shoulders pushing back. And then give one shoulder and then the other shoulder a little lift and drop. Take the back of your hands into the wall and press back firmly. Now take the ridge of the head, so the back of your head, and push it into the wall as well. And then slide it slightly up the wall. And I want you to push down and out with your feet, soften the knees, back with your bum and back with your arms, back between your shoulders, back and slightly up with your head. So down and out with your feet, keep the knees soft, back with your bum, back between your shoulders, back with your arms. Pressing back, sliding up with your head, down and out with your feet. Squeeze, press, breathe, squeeze, press, and then come away from the wall and roll those shoulders and drop the head and just roll the head around. And then place your head back on top of your neck so that you are beautifully aligned and tall. So just like when we did the seated version of that and we got nice and tall after doing camel pose, try and feel the same thing. So we've got this lovely stacking ear, over shoulder, over hip, over knees, over ankles. Now, we're going to come into a bit of core work, crocodile pose. Feel as if you're pushing the floor away, just like you did on the bricks, when you come into your balance initially. So take all of your weight into your right leg, push the floor away with the heel, and then lift your other toes behind you like so. And then just open your arms up so you're stretching the front line of the body. Take your eye gaze, your dristi, onto a point about 2 or 3 meters in front of you, and then just soften the little muscles around the eyes. Take a deep breath in, and then as you exhale, draw your knee up, close your jaws, your crocodile jaws, open up again, stretch the front line of the body, exhale, close, good. Inhale to open, keep pushing the floor away with your heel to stabilize, to strengthen your bones, squeezing those hips so that you create strength and stability around the pelvis. Good, opening, and then closing. Again, opening, and then closing. Let's see if we can do one more, really slow. Good. Arms out to the side, so keep the knee up, shoulders away from ears. Now see if you can push your foot out in front of you, but don't lean. See if you can pull your pelvis back, pull your leg back into your pelvis. Holding it here, and then going, and again, little releasing, swirl one side and then the other. Taking all your weight onto that left leg, press down through the left heel, crown of the head is lifted, opening up, toes just touching the ground lightly. Keep the knee, standing legs slightly soft. Breathing in, breathing out. Good. So as you breathe out, it's as if your tummy button is zipping right up underneath your rib cage. Breathing in and breathing out. Smooth movement, smooth breath. So we're stressing the body, doing this balancing, but by using the long exhalation and by relaxing our eye gaze, we're telling our brain and our central nervous system that we are safe, that it is okay. Big breath in, breathing out, squeeze, arms out to the side, hold it here for a moment, push your foot out in front of you, hold it here, crown of the head is lifting, shoulders are relaxed, and then drop it, good. And roll those hips around one direction and then the other again. Now, if you've got 2 bricks, you might want to do your squats on bricks, otherwise just do them on the ground. So if you've got your bricks, hip width apart, heels, we really want to feel the heels pushing into the ground, so make sure your heels are on your bricks. Knees stay on top of ankles, so this is this thing that I've seen most of all, knees dropping forward, so all the pressure goes into your shins and your knees, no good. We want to keep your bum back, so I'm going to turn sideways with my bricks here. So you can see my behind is behind me here, but bottom behind you, but don't kind of do a big flare out with your ribs. See if you can keep dropping your ribs so that we are using the corsatory muscles here as well. Arms out in front and then draw the shoulders back to stabilize the shoulder girdle. Now press through the heels and just lengthen your bum behind you, stretching your fingertips out to counterbalance. So this is power pose, Utkatasana. We can kind of just hold it here for a little bit to while away the time. Keep breathing. Shoulders relaxing, pressing through the heels. Now we're going to come up on an exhale. And as you exhale, push your hands away from you to also suck everything upwards. And then soften to come back down again. So we're exhaling up, pushing the heels into our bricks or into the ground, dropping down on our inhale. Exhaling up, good. So you want to push the heels in, so we're really making the bum and the hamstrings do the work. We're also strengthening into the back muscles, and we're getting that wonderful connection with the pelvic floor, sucking upwards, and then those deep transverse abdominal muscles. So just a fantastic overall body toner, pelvic toner. And again, and one more. Actually, that's a lot. We're going to do some more. We'll do 5 more. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're just going to hold number 5 down for a moment and come up really slowly, like a whoo. And then rolling the shoulders away from your ears and give your legs a shake and your bum a shake. One direction and then the other, and swish and swish and swish and swish. Now, let's add a lunge, and we might try the front foot on a brick. So have a little go with this. Front foot on the brick, back toes on the ground. So coming into a lunge. Alrighty, like so. So this is a pretty deep stretch onto the quads here. So what we're wanting to do is, as you exhale, you might want to take one finger on the wall, by the way, for balance, or on a chair. Now exhaling, pushing the floor away, coming up, pelvic floor lifting up. You're imagining it zipping right up through the crown of your head. Inhaling down, exhaling up. Inhaling down, exhaling. So if you just imagine a plunger, helping you come up, and then tricky balance. Push the front heel into the ground, like so. Good. Exhaling and inhaling down, exhaling and inhaling down. Last one. Whoo. Good. And then just swap to the other side. So this was measured, doing this kind of thing with that exhale pelvic lift. And these are actually much more powerful than regular Kegels. We're not just influencing the pelvic floor, we're going right deep into the muscles that hold our organs into place. So let's just come into a high lunge here. Draw yourself so that the corsatory muscles are holding you up, shoulders away from ears, and then push the floor away as you come up on an exhale. Like so, dropping down. I'm just doing this with my fingers to show what's kind of happening with your pelvic floor muscles. Down. But you don't need to do that. You could go. So your hands are flying upwards as you exhale. Come down. Breathe out through your mouth. And let's do this last one with a Now we'll do one more. Good. So that we just get a little bit of extra suction through the diaphragm when we do that. Now come across to your wall, take yourself into tabletop position, stretch your sitting bones back and up, and just give yourself a nice stretch all the way through the spine, lower back, and into your bum. Right into your bum. That's it. Drop the knees across the midline of the body. So a bit like downward dog. Get into those hips. Good. Now come a bit closer to the wall. Roll one shoulder back. Grab hold of your ankle. And then just slide your knee down towards the ground so we stretch into those quads. So release those quads. Good. Draw the base of the rib cage in so you're not kind of flaring here. Smooth, smooth breath. That's the way. And then same thing on the other side. Roll the shoulder back, grab hold of the ankle. Draw your knees relatively close together, as close as you can draw them. And then slide the knee down towards the ground. As your pubic bone comes forward a little bit, deep stretch into those quads. Very good. Now stretching those glutes out, so fingertips on the wall, taking one ankle on top of your knee. Now come back into that squat, so your sitting bones come behind you, knee drops out to the side, stretching deeply into the glutes here. So this is just like pigeon pose, a little bit easier to get to. Squeeze and release. And we'll try that on the other side. So ankle on top of knee, dropping down. Now, if you want to try this as a balance, you just take your hands together, you push your hands together, elbows up, shoulders drawn together, and keep lifting your sitting bones back as you drop your knee out to the side. Smooth breath. Eye gaze soft. There we are. Ooh. Slowly coming up. Now come onto your mat. If you know your balance isn't great tonight, you can always put a fingertip onto the wall. That really helps. So we'll just come into dancer pose, your expression of dancer pose tonight. So we roll the shoulder back, we grab hold of the ankle, we draw the knees down towards the ground, other thumb and first finger together, and then just kick your ankle into your hand and keep resisting hand, pulling ankle back, and then just let yourself drift forward totally to where your body wants to go tonight. So you might stay upright and just focus on stretching these quads. Be very mindful of knees. So this is perfect. Maybe a little bit forward. And when you're ready, just coming out of that side and floating over to the other side. Roll the shoulder back, grab hold of the ankle. First, we'll get your balance. Make sure your standing leg is pressing right down, rooting down into the ground. And then just floating into your expression of dancer tonight. So shoulders soft, ankle pressing into hand, fingertips extended, and slowly coming back. Good. Take your bottom into your wall, let your feet away from the wall like that. And then keep the knees a little bit soft and just fold yourself forward and walk your bottom muscles, your sitting bones up the wall, and then fold yourself forward. Hold on to your elbows and just let everything drop. So you're creating a lovely stretchy sensation through your upper back. Smooth breath, exhaling fully. If you're feeling comfortable, you can lift your sitting bones a bit more, so we stretch the hamstrings a bit more. So just go with what feels good with your back, good with your legs tonight. Head shaking. See if you can sit in the end of the exhalation, that little pause when nothing's happening. Good. Now soften your knees. Take your hands down onto the ground and walk yourself forward into downward facing dog. Stretch those fingertips out. Roll the shoulders away from the ears. Maybe press through the heels again. You want to stretch those calf muscles and lengthen the spine. Smooth, smooth breath. Now make sure you've got your bricks close-ish by. we are going to come into pigeon pose for those who like pigeon pose. I'll give you an alternative if you don't. So if you do, shuffle your toes together, take your left leg out behind you, and then bend the knee in, and then take the left knee over to the left side of your mat, and then your foot to the other side of your mat. And you want to shuffle your toes back behind you, and then take your brick and slide it underneath your lifted hip so that you create a flatness through your lower back and through the sacrum. Now, if that's not for you, come instead into the side zigzag, like so. And I'm going to get you to slowly come forward, kind of in the gap between your legs, and pause as soon as you feel a stretch into your hip and into your bottom. So full pigeon's not for you. Try doing that one instead. So if you're in pigeon pose, first of all, puff your pigeon chest and then slowly come down until you feel the stretch into your hips. And then push your hands into the ground and puff your pigeon chest again. And then exhale and flow down. If you've got your handy other brick there, you might put that underneath your forehead, or you might stack your fists for your forehead to rest on. You might even take the brick underneath your elbows and just let your head rest. We just don't want you holding your head. See if you can let your head rest on something. And wherever you are, we're also just softening into the hips, melting those hips, releasing those hips. Take another full exhalation. And then take your fists onto the ground. So your fists rather than just your hands. And push yourself up and pause here. So what we're going to do is we're going to bend the elbows a little bit, and we're going to push the floor away as we exhale, and then lift right up through the crown of the head. So we get that suction through the pelvic floor right upwards. So exhale, push the floor away, suck upwards, right up through the cervix, right up through the crown of the head, and then soften back down. So you stretch into those hips. And then push the floor away, exhaling, coming up, and then softening into the hips. So if you're in this version, you're still doing the same thing. You're just kind of pushing and lifting. It looks a little bit smaller, but we're still getting that vacuum and that lift. And then we're releasing down like so. And then we're pushing and we're zipping upwards, shoulders away from ears. And then we're softening into that release. Good. All right. So coming out of that side, tuck toes, downward facing dog, just to pedal the heels down. Release the hips again, knees dropping from one side to the other like so. And then we'll do the same thing on the other side. So taking your right foot out behind you and then drawing that foot up towards the left side of your mat, knee over to the right side, and then just kind of shuffle down into your expression of pigeon. You might not need to slide your brick or a couple of bricks underneath. We're looking for this area here to be as even as possible. So what we don't want is for the hip to be right up, and you can see now I've got a torquing here. So instead we prop the hip so we can roll the other side downwards. So we just want to keep our pelvis as even as possible, and then have a little play with coming down and lifting up and exhaling down. And every time you come down, we just drop a little bit deeper into that stretch, like so. And wherever you end up, pause and just see if you can support your head, relax your shoulders, so whichever version you're in. Like so, shoulders away from ears. If you're in your zigzag, we're just looking for that space between the legs to fold slightly forward, pausing as soon as you feel the stretch in your hips and in those glutes. Soften and soften. That's it. Okay, so taking your fists underneath your shoulders, We push the floor away. We start to lift up. Pause here. You might need to rearrange your hands. We want to have our fists directly underneath the elbows, underneath the shoulders. So bend the elbows out to the side. As you exhale, you gather and lift the pelvic floor. Use it right up through the crown of the head. And then you release down. And again, zipping all the way up. Pelvic floor is activated. Slow twitch muscles, releasing. And again, pelvic floor. So you're lifting up as if you're stopping yourself, weeing and passing wind at the same time. That's a feeling. And then releasing down. Very good. Slowly coming back. I'm going to get you just to lie down onto your backs for a moment. Have your strap here. Have your bricks close by. So starting off, releasing those legs. So we're going to take the legs into your strap and coming into that reverse upside down tabletop again. So press the back of the pelvis back into the ground. You might have your knees slightly bent. That's absolutely fine. Shoulders away from ears, elbows in, so we can create a nice flattening effect through the upper back. Chin's tucking in. Now see if you can just push the heels away slightly and then soften. And then push the heels away slightly and then soften. So as you push your heels away, just make sure the pelvis isn't tucking. You're pushing the pelvis back into the ground at the same time. Let your breath become smooth and long. Good. Now just leave your left leg in the strap and take your right leg out and see if you can take it a little bit closer to the body. We're also getting into the hip flexors here. You might want to pulse your leg if that feels nicer for you. You can just pulse here. I'm going to take the other arm above my head as well. So we're stretching the whole front end of the body and into the hamstrings. Good. So exhaling to swap sides, starting to press the heel away, and then maybe lengthening the whole body as well. Good, and then taking both feet back into your strap, bending the knees slightly and let those feet drift apart. So stretch them as wide as they can go. Shoulders drop away from your ears, elbows nice and heavy. Now push away with the heels and bring those toes back towards you with your strap. Push the back of the pelvis into the ground and just allow yourself to deeply stretch into those inner thighs. It's not a nervy stretch though. Allow it to be a good stretch, a good healthy stretch. Softening the belly, softening the pelvis, softening those buttocks. Good. That's the way. Now just try bending the knees a little bit more. And then slide the strap a little bit higher so the feet come a tiny bit closer together. And then bend the knees a little bit more again. So we're stretching now right underneath the, so right into the thigh area, right into the inner groin, baby pose. Knees bent, pelvis pushing back, stretching into those thighs. And then see if you can kind of rock from side to side. Like that. Now slide your feet together and then just let your knees drop over to one side and stretch the other arm out. So we're getting a twist through the back. Now hook your belt just around your top foot and see if you can lengthen the heel away from you. So now we're stretching right up the side of the leg and right through the back as well. Smooth breath. So if that doesn't feel good, just keep the knees bent. And rinsing out for the spine. That's it. Then bending both knees, you need to slide the top foot into the strap, bending the knees to the other side and lengthening the heel away from you, coming into that full body twist on the side. Shoulders away from ears. It's a wonderful way to release the spine. Also twist right into the kidney area. So kind of squeezing and releasing. Good, and then slowly coming back and just grabbing your bricks so we can release those psoas muscles and also allow the pelvic floor muscles to drop away from the pelvic, the pelvic organs to drop away from the pelvic floor. So start off with one brick, see how that feels. If it feels good and lower back's happy, you might want to slide a second brick under there for a moment. And then once you're there, we want to kind of shuffle ourselves so the pelvis is slightly tilted so that we can feel a nice stretch through this lower back, this lumbar spine. And this is allowing those muscles, the psoas muscles, the hip flexors, to get a nice stretch right from the inside of our thighs through the front of the pelvis. They insert into the lower back here. Palms up, back of the hands on the mat. And just relax here. See if you can really soften into your height, into your pelvis, into your bricks, pelvis melting. You're very welcome to do some pelvic floor work here as well. Because we're on a slope, this position can be easier to feel your pelvic floor lifts. So if you're wanting to get a little bit of extra work in, you just exhale, draw in and up. You can feel the urethra and the anus working, exhaling, drawing in and up, and then releasing. Exhaling, drawing in and up, and then releasing. If you're just enjoying having a little bit of a relax now, then stay with that. We can also lift one leg and then the other leg, and take this into a restorative legs up the wall pose. So with the pelvis lifted, it just increases that feeling of flow. So weight of legs down into the pelvis, extending the exhalation. Beautiful. And when you're ready, just taking yourself back into that supported bridge for a moment, and then slowly taking those bricks out of the way and rolling the spine back down onto the ground very, very slowly. So one vertebra at a time. Let your back settle, and then either taking your bricks or maybe you've got a bolster underneath your thighs, so the knees are lifted. And your knees can just drop out to the side. So feet dropping out to the sides, thighs supported, or if you've got a bolster, just place it underneath your knees and then just come and flop. So chin tucking back in, the whole of the back of the body melting into the ground. Take 3 changing breaths here. So inhaling through the nostrils, and then as you sigh out, unwind your lower jaw away from your upper jaw. And then taking your attention to the very crown of your head again. And again, imagining those little sparkles there. Imagine that you're standing underneath a very powerful shower. And the warmth is just pulsing onto the crown of your head. And imagine those sparkles are again melting down through the skull. And just feel the whole of your head melting and softening into the ground. Especially feeling your lower jaw relax, cheeks relax. Allow the tongue to become heavy in the mouth. Feeling that sense of melting, relaxing, flowing down neck and chest. Feeling the upper back softening into the ground as all of the muscles we've been squeezing are just releasing now, down, flattening, melting. Little sparkles of light pulsing down your arms, your forearms, pulsing down palms and the back of your hands and down fingers and into fingertips. Feeling your hands, that pulse in the hands, the warmth. Taking your attention back to the little sparkles that are now dancing around the torso, massaging around the intestines, massaging around the lower back, softening the back into the ground, massaging through the pelvis, around the hips, around the pelvic floor, sliding down through thighs, little sparkles, down through the femurs, the knees and the back of the knees, down through shins and calves, little sparkles, flowing down through the soles of the feet, massaging around to the tops of the feet, massaging through the bones of the feet, little sparkles, flowing around the big toe joint, and then flowing through the joints of the other toes and right into the tips of your toes, feeling both feet vibrating, pulsing and warm. And then feeling the whole of your body, little sparkles flowing, pulsing, the whole of your body as if you are disengaged from your body. Almost seeing the body and feeling the body as if it is not part of you. Letting those sparkles roam and flow where they need to go, where they need to create release and softening, nourishment. Breathing deeply, smoothly, ocean-like sound to your breath. And just noticing how this cloak of yours, this body of yours that you're wearing through this lifetime is actually very, very good quality. Be mesmerized by this body, the feeling of this body at this moment in time. And just know that when we enjoy this body, it will shine. When we give it a bit of TLC, a bit of nourishment, the wear and tear can be patched up. So allowing the mind to flow around the body and just saying thank you, thank you, thank you. And taking your attention to the very tip of your nostrils, noticing the coolness of the breath as you breathe in deeply, right deep into the lungs. The warmth of the breath as it leaves the body. And just starting to draw your attention to those fingers and toes. Wriggle into fingers and toes, feeling that little pulse, the sparkles. Take the head and massage it from side to side. A little bit of movement there through the cervical spine. And then when you're ready, slowly, very fluidly roll over to one side. Let the movement be very flowy. And once you've settled into the fetal position, then take your hands onto the ground and just very slowly push the floor away to come and sit and flow. And then find your nice stacked spine, find your soft shoulders, and find that sweet spot where the head is perfectly positioned on top of the neck. And notice how soft your jaw is and how relaxed and soft your eyes are. Taking the hands into the heart center. And just again, feeling underneath the whole of your skin surface, the whole of your body, I'm going to finish this practice with an Om. So either listening or joining in and just feeling the vibrations of that low sound through the body. So breathing in. And acknowledging yourself for coming and rolling out your mat and practicing. The love and the light in me bows to the love and the light in you. Thank you so much. Namaste.
Namaste.